In the icy shadows of the Soviet Union, a monster hunted unnoticed for over a decade. He was a father, a teacher, an ordinary man. But behind the quiet demeanor was a killer so depraved, so sadistic, he would earn a name that chills through Russia. The Butcher of Rostov. Andrei Romanovich Chikatilo was born in 1936 in a village in Soviet Ukraine, amidst famine and war. His childhood was marred by starvation, fear, and humiliation. Rumors swirled that his older brother had been kidnapped and eaten during the famine. These whispers of cannibalism would haunt Chikatilo's psyche. He grew up painfully shy, socially awkward, and plagued with a secret, an inability to perform sexually. Rejected and ridiculed, Chikatilo's hatred simmered beneath a mask of meekness. He found solace in books, and eventually, in violence. In 1978, 9-year-old Lena Zakotnova disappeared in Shakhta. Her mutilated body was later found near a river. Chikatilo had lured her, assaulted her, and stabbed her to death in a frenzy. But in a catastrophic failure of justice, police arrested another man, Alexander Kravchenko, who had a prior conviction. Under intense pressure, he was convicted and later executed. Meanwhile, the real killer walked free. Over the next 12 years, the murders multiplied. Chikatilo stalked train stations, bus stops, and forests, killing women, children, and boys alike. His methods were barbaric, stabbing, mutilating, gouging out eyes. There was no pattern, no mercy. By the late 80s, over 30 bodies had been discovered. Yet, the Soviet police were paralyzed. Serial killers were considered a Western phenomenon, incompatible with socialist values. In 1984, authorities finally launched Operation Lesopolosa, Forest Path. A massive undercover operation began across southern Russia. Undercover officers patrolled stations. Women were used as decoys. Surveillance intensified. On September 13, 1984, Chikatilo was observed by an undercover detective attempting to talk to young women at a Rostov bus station. After serious questioning, a search of his belongings revealed a knife. Chikatilo got arrested and interrogated, but again avoided suspicion on the murder charges, as his blood type did not match the suspect profile. But he was imprisoned for 3 months for a number of minor outstanding offenses. Chikatilo again resumed his killing, the majority occurring away from the Rostov area, and victims were no longer taken from local public transport outlets, as police surveillance of these areas continued. Over the next 2 years the body count increased by a further 19 victims. On 6 November 1990, fresh from killing his final victim, Sveta Korostik, his suspicious behavior was noted by patrolling policemen at the station nearby, and his details were taken. His name was linked to his previous arrest in 1984, and he was placed under surveillance. On 14 November, Chikatilo left his house with a large jar, which he had filled with beer at a small kiosk in a local park. By a swift operation, Chikatilo was arrested by undercover police officers. The medical examiner observed bruises and scars on his body and concluded that the wound was from a human bite. Also, a search of Chikatilo's belongings revealed that he had a knife and 2 lengths of rope. Throughout the questioning, Chikatilo repeatedly denied at first, but later on 29 November, Dr. Bukhanovsky read his 65-page psychological profile to Chikatilo. Within 2 hours, Chikatilo burst into tears and finally confessed that he was guilty. Chikatilo was charged with killing 53 women and children between 1978 and 1990. He was held in the same cell in Rostov-on, where he had been detained on November 20th, to await trial. Chikatilo stood trial in Rostov on April 14, 1992. During the trial, he was kept in an iron cage in a corner of the courtroom to protect him from attack by the many hysterical and enraged relatives of his victims. On October 15, Chikatilo was found guilty of 52 of the 53 murders, and sentenced to death for each offense. On February 14, Chikatilo was taken to a soundproofed room in Novocherkassk prison, and executed by a single gunshot, behind the right ear. Justice was served, but the scars remain, etched into the memory of a nation that once refused to believe such a monsters existed. The case of Andrei Chikatilo, even decades later, stands as a disturbing testament and the critical importance of vigilance, justice in the face of unspeakable crimes, forever etching itself into the criminal history.